Hi, my name is Trevor Klump, and this is my application video for the University of Detroit Mercy Assistant Strength and Conditioning Coach position. Today I'm going to be talking about the snatch and how I would progress a freshman or someone who's new to the exercise. The snatch is defined as taking the bar from the floor to above the head in one motion, catching below parallel. The first thing I want to teach the athlete is their stance. Now typically anywhere between hip and shoulder width is ideal, but before the athlete gets rolling, I want them to get comfortable. When they find somewhere where they seem to be pretty comfortable, I want them to point their toes out very slightly to begin. The next thing I want to talk to the athlete about is their grip. Now starting out, I'm going to use a PVC pipe or some kind of dowel just so that the bar doesn't seem too heavy. So when they start, their grip should be wide enough that the bar or the PVC pipe lands right at about the crease of the hip. Now you can also check if they put the bar or the PVC pipe over their head, it should be roughly 4 to 6 inches above their head. The first exercise I want to talk to you about is the snatch grip press. Now, if the athlete doesn't feel comfortable using a bar yet, we can certainly start with the PVC pipe. But what I want them to do is step under the bar like they would just back squat. So the bar is going to be racked on the back of the shoulders. And now instead of having the typical back squat hand grip, I want them to start with their hands in the grip that we just found on the PVC pipe. Now all the athlete's going to do is going to rotate their elbows underneath the bar and press straight up, extending their arms, making sure that the bar stays in line with their shoulders and their hips and their knees and their ankles. Now what this is going to do is allow the athlete to learn where that final catch position of where the bar is going to be, as well as teaching them how to lock out their elbows at the top. The next exercise in this progression is the overhead squat. Now the athlete already understands how to press and hold the bar over their head. This time they're going to add simply a squat. The idea here is to identify any mobility issues that we could target later with corrective exercises, as well as get them to understand where the final catch position is for the snatch. Now with the same motion, the athlete's going to press their arms up, hold the bar up, and again shrugging at the shoulder, they're going to sit their hips back, squat below parallel, and stand up. Now a couple important points here is to make sure that the shoulders and the torso stay upright, that they continue to press up on the bar, and that they sit as low as they can. The next exercise we're going to talk about is the snatch pull. Now the first position I wanted to talk about is power position. This is simply where the athlete unlocks their hips and bends their knees no lower than a quarter squat. So she kind of sits in, knees are bent, hips are back, chest is up, shoulder blades are retracted back, and that bar should hit just at the top of the thigh or right at the crease of the hip. Now from here, all the athlete's going to do while maintaining the weight just behind the ball of the foot, forcefully extend, jump up, and shrug at the top of the pull. Now one thing to remember here is that the bar cannot leave and shift out forward as she pulls. Yep. So the idea here is making sure that we squeeze the shoulder blades and pull the bar back into our hip the entire time. So from here, once we're comfortable in that power position, we're going to move down to the knee. So it's simply pushing the hips back, allowing the shoulders to fall, allowing the bar to roll right up to the top of the knee. She's going to return to that same position in the same way she did, and pull at the top again, forcefully jumping and shrugging at the top of the pull. Now again, some of the key things here is maintaining a good back posture and making sure that the bar doesn't sneak out forward as she goes down and coming back up. So now that our athlete has a good understanding of the pull from the top half, we're going to start from the floor. Now we've added some weight to the floor, to the bar, so that the bar is elevated off the floor. We're going to work on what's called snatch liftoffs. Now this is simply where the athlete approaches the bar, again with that same stance that we've talked about earlier, reaching down, grabbing the bar with the same snatch grip. Now here, the keys that we need to focus on are that the hips are below the shoulders and still are above the knees. Now, the athlete's going to take and pull the slack out of the bar by retracting her shoulder blades back. And now this is simply where the athlete lifts the bar up to about the bottom of the knee, pauses for a second, and returns down to the floor. Now a couple of things we need to worry about is making sure that the hip doesn't rise up too fast and that her shoulders stay forward over the bar. The idea here is to maintain this back posture, this back relationship between her shoulders and her hips so that they rise up and back at the same time. Another key point here is to make sure that the bar and the knees push back off of the floor. If this doesn't happen, there's going to be some major implications later on during the lift. And typically when a lift is missed, it's because something happened right off the floor. Now that we've understood where the bar should be placed coming off the floor, we're going to combine the snatch pull from the knee and that lift off and do a full snatch pull from the floor. Now again, keys here are maintaining that good back posture, shoulders and hips rising up at the same time, bars sweeping back off the floor, knees back. Now one thing that is important to notice is that once the bar gets past the knee, it should be the same pull as we did from the knee. Okay, it's going to slow it down here. Again, once that bar reaches the knee, it's a transition back into power position. So it's important that the athlete doesn't just jump straight from the floor to the top of the pull, that they transition back into that power position before they push. Now the next exercise in this progression is going to be the snatch high pull. Now that we've pulled from the floor, the athlete understands where the bar needs to be once it gets to the hip. Now what the high pull does is allow the bar to travel a little bit farther up the shoulders, and it teaches the athlete the bar path and the beginning phases of the turnover with their elbows. Now what's important here too to maintain is that the elbows are pointed down the length of the bar. If the elbows are pointed back, the bar is going to have a tendency to drift out away from the athlete. Now again, all the athlete's going to do is continue to pull, just as she did with the normal pulls, but allow her elbows to bend. And one thing that's important again is we don't want the bar to travel and drift away from the athlete. It needs to stay nice and close to their body. So the next exercise in this progression again is the power snatch. Now this can be performed from any of the positions that we've talked about. I'm going to have the athlete start just from the floor because this is where we're going to start for the snatch. Now key things here is to make sure that the bar stays close. And what the athlete will do once that bar gets up high enough, they'll rotate their elbows under and punch themselves down underneath the bar, catching anywhere above parallel. I'll have Kate do a couple here. Again, maintaining good back posture as the bar lifts off the floor, punching, shrugging up at the top, and making sure that the bar doesn't drift away too much. Excellent, excellent. So now to kind of piece together all these exercises that we've done, I'm going to add in an overhead squat after this. Now this is what this is going to do, is allow the athlete to understand what the final catch position again is for the snatch, and help to put together everything that we've learned so far. And again, it's important, knees push back off the floor, bar comes back off the floor, catching a nice solid upright position, overhead squat. And again, it's important once we get into the bottom of that squat that the athlete presses up, shrugging their shoulders up and maintaining a good solid upright posture. There you go. So now we've learned how to power snatch and plus overhead squat from the floor. We're going to try the snatch. The snatch again is defined as taking the bar from the floor to overhead with the arms locked out in one motion, catching below parallel. Now this is accomplished by taking that pause or that hesitation out between the power snatch and the overhead squat. Now again, some things to remember is that as the bar comes off the floor, it needs to push back into the athlete, keeping it nice and close. There you go. Once we get into the bottom of that squat, it's very, very important that the athlete continues to shrug up and press up against the bar so that the bar doesn't float away, and that they maintain a nice upright position. So here are some additional exercises that I would use with especially a freshman or somebody that's very new to the exercise. Doing a power snatch from some of the positions off the floor. The first one we'll do is a power snatch from power position. Now again, just like with the snatch pull from power position, the athlete's only going to start into this top position. There's going to be no counter movement. Forcefully jump up, rotate the arms over, and punch underneath. So again, based on training age, based on their abilities and how quickly they pick up some of these exercises, I would typically start with an athlete from this position, gradually working my way down to closer to the floor. Now the next one we're going to do is a power snatch from the knee. Now simply RDLing down to the knee again like we did with the snatch pull from the knee, with the addition of the turnover and the catch overhead. Now what these will do is allow the athlete to understand the different positions and kind of gradually introduce them to the snatch. Each of these can also be done with the addition of an overhead squat, so that they get a better understanding of doing a full snatch and catching into that full squat position.